Lee, hello. Rod, let's start with that. So
Yeah.
tell us what was predicted and what sort of happened here.
Right.
And what, yeah.
So if you didn't get a chance to watch our live coverage Saturday and some of our newscasts, you may not realize how varied the results were around the area. I'm talking from Salem to Longview to the Coast Range to the Cascades of this storm that hit. You probably realize the National Weather Service issued a winter storm warning basically for our entire valley area of Salem, Portland, up through Vancouver. We stuck with our forecast at the KGW of generally 1 to 4 inches. So what happened? Well, the east side got 2-3 times, by east side I mean east of 205. In some cases, Clackamas, East Multnomah County got 2-3 times what we thought. They got 6, 8, 10 inches of snow, tons of snow. But then you flip over into Beaverton and Hillsborough, there was basically nothing. But then you go out farther and you had reports of 4, 5, 6 inches of snow in the countryside around Forest Grove, not necessarily up in elevation.
Right.
And then you go down to Salem, they had just a little bit, but there were other pockets of Yamhill County where they had 3, 4, 5 inches of snow. So it really turned out to be a checkerboard of people that got snow and people that did not. So you had people in Beaverton on the west side thinking all forecasters are idiots. And then you have people on the east side going, wow, it wasn't a bad forecast, but they should have told us we were going to get
so much
8, 9, 10 inches of snow.
So what are, because I'm not a weather person or a meteorologist, neither are most of our viewers, what exactly can make the difference? I mean, what variables are there where it can kind of change like that?
Well, let me talk about the 2 points. So again, the question here is not that this didn't happen. It did.
It did.
It didn't
just in certain parts.
It did not turn out to be widespread, and we thought it would. So why wasn't it widespread? And why did the east side get so much? So this is simply my speculation of it being a meteorologist looking at what happened. Number one, during the evening hours of Friday, you may remember we showed our futurecast. We projected it would be rain throughout a good chunk of the evening, then would turn to snow. For a lot of people, that was exactly right. The east side, however, Gresham out through Troutdale, parts of Clackamas County, it went on to snow earlier that evening than we thought it would. So because of that, you folks got 6, 7, 8 inches of snow, and in some cases more. Now, closer to I-5, it turned out to generally be about 1 inch of snow, and that mostly is what fell into the early morning hours of Saturday. And now we know on the west side, generally Hillsborough, Beaverton we're using as a bullseye, we didn't get anything. So 2 things. East side got more because we thought you folks would have some rain Friday evening. It turned out to be pretty much all snow where the bullseyes was. Why didn't we get any snow in other parts? Because this forecast was also hinged on the fact we were going to have accumulating occasional snow bands coming during the day Saturday.
Right. In waves, what you guys said.
Right.
Yeah.
When the cold air would be blanketing all locations. Well, even though temperatures turned out to be warmer than we thought Saturday, what I think happened is aloft, we had such cold air pouring in that was accompanied by dry air advection as well, that it didn't give us the snow shower activity that we were expecting on Saturday. So now you ended up with a much drier day Saturday, and you had areas that never really got precipitation until the air got cold enough, and by that point, the precipitation kind of fizzled out. So I think that's the explanation, if that makes sense. But what I want people to realize, and we're going to talk about, we're forecasters that err here, and I ask you to put this hat on. I ask you to sit in the forecaster chair and accurately predict what really happened. So this is you being forecaster on Friday. Good evening, everybody. I'm your forecaster, and I'm going to tell you folks in Forest Grove could get 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. You folks in Hillsborough and Beaverton, nothing. You folks along I-5, maybe 1 inch. You folks along I-205, 3, 4 inches, and then the farther you go out that direction into East County, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches. You folks in Marion County and Yamhill counties, multiple scattered reports that you are going to pick up 1 inch to 3 or barely a dusting. Can't pinpoint those locations for you, but we think that is what will happen. Now, that's what did happen.
Right.
And if you think the science of meteorology is good enough to say 3 to 6 in Forest Grove, nothing in Hillsborough and Beaverton, 1 inch on I-5, 3, 4, 5 inches along 205, 10 inches out toward East Multnomah County, 1 inch in some parts of Salem, other parts not. If you think the science of meteorology is good enough to do that, you are mistaken, and you need to simply realize that it is not.
Well, there's no guarantee, and it's not an exact science, no matter what people think. I mean, explain how it is an exact science to a point, but explain how you do predictions, because that's what people don't maybe understand.
I want to add this. Often when I go out and I speak to Rotary clubs and the Kiwanis Club and the Lions Club, and we do these luncheons, and we talk about things like this. And I'll often tell people that, we do get our slam dunk 8-inch snowstorm where everybody gets it. And that's when it's been in the 20s for highs for several days. The east winds have been roaring out of the gorge. A Pacific storm comes in, usually from due west to east, slams into the cold air coming out of the gorge, and we all get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 inches of snow all over the place. That's our slam dunk widespread snow. Now, the reality is, we as forecasters don't do a good job of realizing that these other events may not be widespread. And the reality is that in almost, not all of them, sometimes we just flat out blow it, but in most cases of these snow events, what we say is going to happen does in fact happen, but it doesn't happen everywhere between Salem and Portland and Forest Grove and Gresham. And then people get upset, and I get that, but believe me, if you were a forecaster, you're seeing the massive circulation around this big low that was offshore and how cold the airfields were from the coast to eastern Oregon. Remember, we even had snow at the coast on this, remember.
Was that, gosh, I can't even remember. That was like
we had
last
some snow
Monday,
falling.
Right?
The Astoria Column, people were sledding down the hill by
That's
the
right.
Astoria Column
Yeah.
on our live camera. So is there a way that we as forecasters can do a better job of figuring out which events aren't going to be widespread and which ones are? I don't know, but I would also add, does it help you as a viewer at home if the forecaster predicts a winter storm, 1 to 4 inches of snow, and then adds, it may not be widespread, and I have no idea where it won't? I don't know if that does you any good either or not.
Well, the second you don't warn people and prepare, tell people to prepare, and then something bad does happen, I mean, that's also not something you want weighing on your conscience either, because that's a lot of stress.
I mean, it's supposed to be our job to help people prepare for their own safety, not only
Right.
for themselves, but also for their property. So we would always much rather
You err on the side of
say
caution.
something that didn't happen.
Absolutely.
My worst case scenario is not forecasting something, then it does happen.
Right. I mean, even just in Vancouver, we both live there. I'm on the
Yeah.
west side, so are
Yeah.
you. But friends of mine who live in central or on the east side of Vancouver, it's totally different.
Oh yeah,
in our
I had an
backyards.
inch of snow at my house off of I-5. I had breakfast Sunday morning at a restaurant that's just near 205, and there was still 3-4 inches of snow on that golf course.
Right, I know. So I just want to read through a few comments here. Mark
Yeah.
Vargas saying the weather is unpredictable. I mean, that's pretty.
But let me
Good
say
statement.
something to Mark. And honestly, in this situation, I don't know if a forecaster could have done better. I really don't, because it was such a great variety of things. But I do think that television and the media are partially to blame over the last couple of decades when it comes to giving people perhaps a false expectation of how perfect the science of meteorology is, which it's not. And by that I mean all the weather promos and all this jargon over the years of Doppler 10,000 that and Doppler 10 million that. And, and I think people do, some, have a false expectation that if the forecast isn't perfect, it's the forecaster's fault. Let me tell you, I have a personal goal when I'm talking about today and tomorrow of 85% of the things I'm telling you being right. That's my personal goal. I realize I can't be 100% right because the science of meteorology doesn't support that. I try to only be wrong about 15% of the time, and I'm talking about the immediate 48 hours. And what does that include? That includes what I tell you for the coast, what the snow level is going to be, what's in the gorge, what's in the mountain, what the winds are going to be, when's the precipitation going to start, when's it going to end, how much are we going to get. That's a lot of variables we talk about.
Can I just say one thing about Rod, working with him on the morning show, is that this guy is up well before our shift starts on your personal computer at home, predicting, looking at the models, texting us, giving us updates. Not only that, but I will say you are the one who, if during our sunrise show, if we get a little over dramatic with the way things are written, or we play up, because it sounds sexy, I guess. I don't know how else to phrase it. This guy right here will be like, whoa, you all need to slow your roll and back up a little bit because you guys are making it seem bigger than it is. And it's not even maybe an intentional thing. I think a producer might write it, or somebody will hear something and write it, and he always will correct us and tell us to take it back. So if anyone is not wanting to play something up, it's you. You will be fair.
That's true.
So And Jeff can weigh
Jeff?
in on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. One thing I wanted to do is I wanted to say that we've got Cindy Camp over in the Dalles saying that the snow is continuing there.
Yeah.
So just for a moment, I'm cutting to the Dalles camp.
Okay, great.
Just so
Yeah.
you guys can take
Yeah.
a look at that and maybe talk
Yeah.
about.
Holy
So this
smokes.
is our live camera from the Oregon Veterans Home out in the Dalles, which is one of our newer cameras over the past X amount of months. I know Hood River reported a depth of 9 inches this morning. I didn't take a look and see what the official snow depth report is for the Dalles, but clearly it looks like it's at least 4, 5, 6 inches, if not more. I will tell you, your forecast from the National Weather Service today called for 1 to 3 inches of snow, and your forecast high being in the mid-30s. It was as warm as 36 degrees in the Dalles early this morning. Then I noticed that temperature dropped a little bit, but the gorge has been interesting because there have been signs that at least at times along I-84 temperatures are going to be above freezing today, and there might be some improvement in what has been the last several days, at times a completely snow-covered I-84. Yeah.
So a lot of the comments that we're getting here aren't necessarily even about what happened this last weekend. Everybody's wanting to look ahead.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, which that's fair.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I'm trying to go through you guys. There are just lots of people are asking again. Questions you get all the time. My specific area,
Yeah.
my neighborhood, my
Jeff,
town.
Go back to the weather computer. I want to show you, it's going to take a second to get this up, but I want to show you our highest resolution forecast model. So this is Doppler radar right now, all the green and yellow, that's rain. Notice how you have to know your own weather map, but obviously between the coast, Tillamook, and Portland, there's the coast range. And if you look underneath that Highway 30 sign between Astoria and Longview, that's the coast range. And where you see the purple, that's a little bit of snow being detected, probably at 3,000 feet. So snow levels from Portland back to the west are starting to rise right now, and a lot of the coast range eventually will become rain today. This is the high resolution forecast model that we have, the highest one. This is 5:30 this afternoon. It shows snow over the Cascades. And if you look closely over the gorge where you see that Highway 30 sign again between Mount Hood and Mount Adams. Notice the green, that's mostly rain. This resolution model is showing at the lowest elevations out through Hood River.
We're talking
and even
east of
east
Mount
toward
Hood
the
there?
Dalles, yeah.
Okay.
But what I really want to show you is all the rain from Portland, Longview back to Tillamook and Astoria. Now I'm going to play the clock. Let's punch this through. Here we are at, okay, it's going to stop at 3 o'clock overnight tonight. Now remember, one of our weather headlines right now is the National Weather Service has issued a winter storm watch starting this evening, going through tomorrow morning for elevations of the Portland metro area up through Cowlitz County for elevations slightly above 500 feet and then obviously higher up, where their verbiage is 2 to 6 inches of snow could fall. So we're wondering if this could happen. Well, here's our highest resolution model at 3 o'clock tonight. Go back to that, Jeffrey, for a second. I'm sorry. We just dropped it. I want to point out one more thing. So all that orange color near Salem and over downtown Portland, that's heavy rain. But if you look carefully, just to the left of where it says Portland, you see a salmon colored. That's this computer model picking up a lowering snow level over the West Hills, which begins at 1,000 feet. And then all that blue is a return to heavy snow up over all the coast range. So this forecast model, it's high resolution, so we can only play it out through about 12 hours or so because it's such a big file, if you will. You can come back now, Jeff. Is showing a sign there at 3 o'clock overnight tonight, snow levels getting down to where there could potentially be some starting snow accumulation over the West Hills. So that model, and by noon today, it will go a little bit longer it will go more into Tuesday morning. But it's showing signs that maybe that winter storm watch from Weather Service is a good call, that there could be some hill elevations above 500 feet get accumulating snow overnight tonight.
Just for people who are asking, what's the difference between when a local meteorologist maybe makes predictions based on versus the National Weather Service? I mean, just kind of give us a peek behind the curtain at what goes on behind the scenes.
So, the National Weather Service, and believe me, we are very blessed. I think we have a really great bunch of forecasters that do a really good job at our own National Weather Service office, which their office, not that they need you to send them a pizza or anything, but they're located, just so you know, they're located a little bit east of I-205 near the airport, and that's where the snow measurements are now. They put in a little over 4 inches officially for the snow for Portland back on Saturday. But so obviously they put out watches and warnings. It's one of their biggest responsibility. There is no mandate, to be clear, that myself as a private meteorologist working for a private company, KGW, has to go along and put out any of those watchers or warnings. Now, because we have great respect for the forecasters over there, when they come out with a watch or a warning, we will pretty much always, I'm speaking for myself, pretty much always pass that along to you. And then I will usually add, hey, I agree with this, or I'm not so sure. Now, on the flip side, I will come out with no reservation and forecast a wind level or a snow level that maybe the National Weather Service isn't agreeing with, and I would come out with that forecast before they would have any warning out. So if that makes sense. So there is some independence going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, hey, good afternoon, Stanford, Scott, Hope, hey everybody, Ryan. Jeff, you got a question?
I just
You
have
wanna jump in?
a quick one. Byron Beck actually asked.
Oh,
Byron Beck.
I was going to read that question
Yeah,
next.
you go ahead.
I love
No,
that
no,
name, by the
go
way.
for it, Jeff.
Byron Beck.
I lost
Yes.
I know he was asking about the change, how hard it
he's
is.
just wondering if it's been technology has been advancing, but it seems like it's been harder to predict the weather in the past few years.
For the Portland
For the
area.
Portland area.
Is that
Well,
fair?
I think, that may be in part because our expectations of the fact that weather forecasting is somehow supposed to be perfect now of keep getting higher. So it might be part of that. But to answer your question, what has improved? Doppler radar technology, that came out in the 1980s. So at least for our type, it's gotten better at predicting tornadoes and that type of thing. For our basic rain, snow, well, it's not really that much greater than it was 10 or 20 years ago. But what is much better, that forecast model that I just showed you, what I called our highest resolution model, now because computers are able to crunch so much data so quickly, we're able to make weather forecast models that are 1 kilometer in resolution, and that gets down and gives us a lot better detail of what could happen over the West Hills. Remember, it picked out that little thumbnail of snow over the West Hills? So slowly but surely, we're getting better modeling that does a better job of picking out the influence of what the gorge winds are doing, and what the weather could be in the West Hills versus downtown Portland, and what the weather could be in Salem, where maybe they're not getting an east wind, versus up in Longview. So we are seeing improvements, and also with increased imagery capabilities of new satellite technology being launched, we're getting more data as forecasters to look at, and it is making a difference. I
Do
think
you want to take your temperature map at all? Will that illustrate any of this?
I can click to it. What map is up now? Do I need to click to it?
I got it.
Are you clicking to it? Okay, these are current temperatures right now. Okay.
So does that play through at all? Does that
Well,
speak to,
I mean, right now these are obviously current temperatures. The Dallas is back down below freezing. At one point they were 36 degrees this morning. Now they're back down to 29. So that winter storm warning continues. 35 up in Kelso. So this is our area that we're looking at. Seattle's had all that snow, 33 degrees. By the way, Seattle, in the same pool of colder air, all that snow that they've gotten, it's the same weather system that we have, but because they are at a farther north latitude, their air has been just that category colder than our air has been here, and they've gotten all that snow where we've had kind of a mix. But getting back to Byron Beck's question,
Is it getting harder to predict
I think
the weather?
from my chair, we're seeing forecast modeling starting to do a better job than it ever has before. And from my chair, I will tell you, I don't rewrite my forecast day 1 through day 3 as often as I used to. I think, and Byron, maybe you don't agree with me, I think what's happening is we are getting better technology now. We're trying to fine-tune things and call things closer as forecasters than ever before, and that's a slippery slope. And maybe Byron's noticed that we're trying to call things too closely now, and because of that, we're missing. But again, where's the viewer benefit? Do you just hold back and be
At what
general,
point? Yeah.
or do you get in there and you try to call things close? I think a lot of people would be surprised how many times we call things closely by a degree or two, or by a wind speed that's 10, not 20, and that was going to have some impact on our precipitation. How many times we make a close call that really turns out to be correct, but of course that goes unnoticed.
Well, yeah, it's
And
never.
it's human
it's
nature.
never
I'm the
pointed
same.
out.
I only notice when
Right.
things are wrong. I don't really notice when they're right. I kind of take them for granted. And clearly the snow forecasts are the most noticed forecast because it's sitting out there. If this big upper level low over the weekend had been in the summer, we would have been forecasting scattered heavy rain showers with possible hail. And there would have been some areas get just a trace of a scattered shower, and there would have been other areas pick up almost an inch of rain. everybody would have been underneath the same scattered forecast, but nobody cares when it's only a trace that day and they said scattered showers versus an inch of rain. Well, and I get it. Well, when it's snow, a foot of snow versus you only got a flurry is a big deal. But as a forecaster, I'm still calling that the same because I'm not good enough to pick out who's going to get the trace and who's going to get the inch.
Yeah.
Just not, and it's not the same. No two weather system. It's like my fingerprint and like your fingerprint. Palm me. Our palms are very unique. They're kind of similar, but they're very unique. No two weather systems are exactly the same. That Mother Nature doesn't ever give us all the elements lined up exactly the same way.
You've never given me a Palm 5.
That's the first time we've done that.
That's the first time.
Okay.
I want to read you a couple comments, Rod.
Yeah.
Let's see. Frida says, thank you for keeping us updated. Terry, they got 7 inches or more in Sandy and Boring. Terry says, I think there is science to show these clouds dumped so much on Seattle. By the time they got to Portland, they were not as cold and the clouds had less snow. That's Terry's thoughts. Maybe not. Karen says you did the best you could with the information you were receiving, and that's why I watch your show and rely on your predictions. Thank you. So Julie says it's raining in Corvallis with the wink face, so I'm not sure if Julie's making a joke.
Yeah.
Is it raining? I have no idea.
No, it's
Anyways, so one more time to recap, Rod, because we just have so many questions. I can't get to all of them, but just one more time.
Is there anybody that's really ticked off? I want to talk to some ticked off people.
I can give you.
Give me a ticked
yeah,
off person.
I can find some. Hold on, let me find them.
I've got.
Because I feel your pain. I'm like you. If I'm expecting something and I alter my plans, and then what I was expecting didn't happen, it turns out I shouldn't alter my plans. I'm just like you. I get upset too.
Stanford called it drama.
Drama.
Referring to, I guess, how we played it up on the air.
Let me say something to that real quick.
Yeah.
So I had a person on my Facebook. This is going back to I want to say Tuesday, Wednesday, when we were first starting to make graphics and really talk about this potential storm. And I had people go, oh, it's just you guys are hyping all this and hyping that. And I got back to him with a Facebook comment. I said, actually, I'm doing what I always do.
Right.
If it were going to be heavy rain this weekend, if we were looking at heavy high winds this weekend, we'd be making the same number of graphics, putting them out, because that's what we do. We give you a heads up of what we're looking at. And, so from my chair, if you want to take that information and feel like it's hype, well, that's on you. I'm doing what I always do. I'm putting out graphics whenever we see something that shows it's a little bit, it's not the usual. There's just something that's abnormal coming our way. On the active side of things.
I can speak to the fact that our digital audience that we can see in real time is sort of always looking for when there is a snow event or something like that. Mm-hmm. We can see their appetite for anything related to that. So it's not creating drama. It's keeping people informed, and we're just continually there's more activity on social. There's more native videos. There's more traffic cams, weather cams, and there's also more of an appetite for it.
And I want to make this perfectly clear. So this is the 30th year of my career. No one has ever, and no one will, thank you, and no one will ever tell me what I should be saying forecast-wise. The words that leave my mouth are the words I've come up with after doing my own analysis. And I am trying to be right. And if right means I'm going to tell you nothing is going to happen, then that's exciting for me. If right is I predict a big storm and it happens, then that's exciting for me. If you think that I am in any way ever putting out a product trying to
mislead
hype
or something,
then I am telling you with the honor of my grandfather's memory of whatever I can come up with my hand on my heart, that's simply not true. That is simply not true. The only thing important to me is to try to be as right as I can as often as I can.
Stanford said, here's somebody who's pissed off. Stanford, is this a bunch of BS, a ploy to get us to buy stuff we don't need? There's a comment.
Well, eventually, I would say eventually you're going to need it.
Well, it's good to have it.
I mean, I wouldn't buy 10 snow shovels. You may never break the other 9, but...
So, Andy wrote WTH.
What is that?
What the heck?
What the heck? I get it. Sometimes I forget what those things mean.
I don't know. I'm trying to read some of the funny, angry people's comments, but you
honestly,
asked for some of those.
if you're not, I still go back to what I opened up in saying. You look at the weather maps that we looked at, how large this low pressure field was, the same system that's been impacting Seattle. And then you sit in the forecaster chair. Are you willing to go out there with no computer model to back you up and go, you know what, I just have a hunch, And my hunch is Forest Grove's going to get 3, 4, 5 inches. Beaverton's going to get nothing. I-5's going to get an inch. I-205 is going to get 3 to 4. East of that, they're going to get more. Some areas of Yamhill County and Marion counties are going to get 1 to 3. Others are not going to get anything. I mean, if you think you're smart enough to pull that off, looking at the same data that I look at,
Well, we
then
welcome you
I will
to do
get
it.
down on my knees and I am in awe of you. But my message there is this deal of people, and I get why, but of people increasingly in number thinking that forecasting is a perfect science. And every time a forecast isn't wrong, it's the meteorologist's fault. That's a bunch of nonsense, and that's a you problem. You're not dealing with reality, seriously. Now, with that said, most of the time, overwhelmingly most of the time, that the forecast isn't right, there's probably a nugget in there somewhere that I, as a person interpreting data, could have done a better job at. But sometimes it just isn't the case. I'm telling you, there's no way the science of meteorology backs up 6 inches here,
Right.
5 miles away, nothing.
Right.
10 miles away, 10 inches.
It just doesn't.
10 miles away, nothing. You can't. I mean, this wasn't a widespread event. Thought it would be. It wasn't.
Scott Bellows says most of us appreciate the hard work and dedication you put into this. Just kind of giving you a little.
Thank you.
You
Give
know.
me another angry person.
No, hold on. This is funny. Let's see. Sherry says, give Channel 8 a little love. Daniel says, eat a Snickers.
I love Snickers.
For you to eat a Snickers.
My daughter got me a Snickers bar for my birthday. It was
Lauren
fantastic.
said the same thing. Eat a Snickers. Rob said
That
everybody
commercial. You seen the
apparently
commercial?
thinks- yes.
When you're angry,
Yes.
and they say you need a Snickers.
That's
you're getting
hilarious.
angry because you're
Hangry.
hungry.
Somebody
Yeah.
get this
Hangry.
man a Snickers now.
That's right,
Anybody in the
hangry.
newsroom watching,
Hangry.
please go get him one. We have like 6 comments. Brandy actually says to give you a shot of whiskey.
It's not bad. I like Jim Beam or Crown Royal.
Send it to
Wow.
1501 Southwest
I
Jefferson.
don't like Jack Daniels.
But I am getting a lot of comments saying, okay, let's look forward. So can you recap a
yeah.
little bit one more time
And then-
before we sign off
And then we're
here?
going to get out of here. But
Yeah.
again, looking forward, the big story, obviously it's raining right now for the heart of Portland and Salem and Vancouver. Temperatures will be in the 40s. It's possible we stay as warm as 40 tonight. I would say at the absolute coldest, the flat of the I-5 corridor from Salem up through Vancouver at the coldest will be 36 and heavy rain tonight. Here's our day planner for the remainder of today you're looking at, showing a high in the mid-40s. The Weather Service has put out that winter storm watch for this evening through tomorrow morning. This is for elevations above 500 feet in the metro hills of Portland northward up into Cowlitz County. It does not include the higher hills down in the mid-valley of Yamhill and Marion counties. And their call is that they believe the snow level could get close to 500 feet overnight tonight, dumping 2 to 6 inches of wet, heavy rain. Is that going to happen on a few of those hills from Portland up north? Is it going to happen on all of them? We don't know. I do know that our latest highest resolution forecast model at 3 o'clock overnight tonight, 3 a.m. Tuesday, is starting to show the potential for some accumulating snow over the West Hills. Don't know if that's just going to be at 1,000 feet or could that get down to closer to 500 feet. This is in the keep an eye on this category. And clearly, if you live up in the hills, maybe you want to make some decisions. Maybe there's a spot you leave your car down lower than you walk up. I don't know. But certainly a possibility, capital P, capital O, capital SS, you get the idea, that there
Don't
could be
spell out the whole word.
accumulating snow in those elevations above 500 feet tonight.
Can I have you read a text message from our dear friend and manager, Brandon?
This Brandon? Or
I'm going to have you read this out
Brandon
loud.
says, ask Rod who choked worse. It's one of our producers. Oh, and this is football related. Andy Reid with the Kansas City Chiefs. I grew up in Missouri. That's my team. Or Rod on the West Side Snow. Well,
He's just
Wow.
teasing.
if those are the only
teasing you.
answers, I'm not gonna jump on my coach.
I just
So
sold
if those
him
are the only
out.
answers, I guess I would have to say me.
I just wanted to end on a funny, see, even our coworkers, we all razz each other a little bit.
I mean, believe me,
He's teasing.
we would love for the science of meteorology to be perfect. We would love to be so smart that we could pick out
I wouldn't take that
the
comment
bullseyes of
seriously.
who gets snow and who doesn't. But I think I'm correct when I say the science of meteorology simply isn't that good. And if I'm right about that, then it's not always the forecaster's fault. We need to all realize, we need to take a step back and remember that meteorology is not a slam dunk, perfect
Yeah.
science. And just because your forecast wasn't right for your specific area doesn't mean the forecaster you choose to listen to is an idiot. It just doesn't mean that.
People just thought that comment was funny.
That was
though.
kinda funny.
It was a little funny.
I need a
If
shot
you
of
guys-
whiskey.
If you knew Brandon, you guys would be laughing at that.
I can get you a shot of whiskey.
Thank you.
Rod, we love you.
All right.
And you are working very hard, so here's looking
You too.
forward.
I hope you can join us if you're home or you're going to be near a television set. We stream our Newton News. Does that stream live, Jeffrey?
It does stream live.
It
and this
does.
time I'll send out a push alert to remind people that we'll
Okay.
be covering the weather.
We'll have that latest update on tonight's Storm
And
Watch.
one
on
last
the Newton
comment.
News.
Ryan said the refs in the NFC Championship game choked the worst.
I would agree with that.
I'm a Bears fan, so for me it was Cody Parkey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Double doink.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you on the news at noon coming up in a little over an hour for the next update.
Bye-bye.